So there's no way that you're vegan. There's no way. I mean, you have muscle. I just let that fuel me. I'm the first ever vegan pro strongman and vegan pro bodybuilder. Don't knock it until you try this. Tempeh and put it with a date. Kind of tastes like a donut roll. And I wanted to show people you can do it natural and you can do it vegan. So I chose like a big stage to try to get the word out more. They wouldn't believe that I was, able to eat carbs. And I'm not just representing myself. I'm representing a vegan community. I've now been able to prove I'm strong for myself. Let me use that to help somebody else. And in this case, for the animals.
All right, little interruption before we get into the podcast. Did you know that over 60% of you that listen to this show regularly aren't subscribed to the channel? So if you could do me a favor and click on the subscribe button, because it really helps the channel grow and really helps me get bigger guests on the show and helps me elevate the quality of the show. So again, I run these episodes ad-free for that reason, because I want to give you the best experience possible without any interruption. So this is my little interruption right here. So if you could do me a favor and subscribe, click on the notification bell so you can be notified when the episode goes live. I appreciate it very much. Enjoy the episode. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. I am your show host. I'm excited for today's episode because we're going to be speaking with none other than Melissa Busta, who in less than 1 month will be competed at the Arnold Classics as a vegan strong woman. So she is a world-class vegan athlete. She is an IFBB Bikini Pro, and she also placed first at the Strongman Corporation National Championship in the US in September of 2024, which is also the first vegan woman to do so. We had an incredible conversation where we talked about what the nutrition regimen and training looked like as she prepped for her first bodybuilding competition and her professional competition as a vegan, and how she took that from going from bodybuilding to competing now into strongman competitions, which is completely different style of training and nutrition. So we dove deep into that. She also shared some interesting recipes like eating dates with tempeh, which apparently tastes like a donut. I've yet to give it a shot yet. We also uncovered her deep-rooted motivation and what drives her to succeed, as well as how she stays motivated and overcomes obstacles along her journey to being a world-class vegan athlete. So Melissa has been a shining example of resilience and dedication, inspiring countless of people to live healthier lives, more compassionate lives. And I'm thrilled to dive into her journey, her mindset, and her approach to fitness and nutrition. Enjoy the episode. All right, Melissa, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, I gotta start off the podcast with one question. Where do you get your protein?
Oh, the question that is asked so many times to vegans. The funny thing is, all plants have protein.
What a wild concept.
Huh. Who'd have thought?
In all seriousness, I'd love to start with your vegan journey because, obviously people have heard you've accomplished some pretty incredible things. And, people sometimes don't believe that it is possible on a, vegan, plant-based diet, however people want to label it. So what is it that made you want to go vegan, and how long ago was it?
Yeah, so I have to do the math. It was going on 10 or 11 years now. It's got to be 11 years. But it all started out, I was going through nursing school. So I come from the state of Colorado. This is one of our healthiest states in the nation. So I grew up eating, carrots and vegetables and meat as well. But I knew that there was a healthy side of food. But in nursing school, I was living in Mississippi at the time, which is one of the unhealthiest states in the nation. And there was just that fried Southern food everywhere. And it's very tasty, but I knew that it wasn't very healthy. And in this specific rotation in my nursing school, we were going through the OR, and it was Fried Chicken Wednesday. And every Wednesday, this line going out the cafeteria was an hour long. So you had to get there early, and then they would sell out. And this is fried chicken in a hospital. So kind of blew my mind
Good old
that we
hospital
sold
food.
that. Yep. And in this OR rotation, I was in an open heart surgery. So we were all sitting around. Everybody was scrubbed in. The patient was sedated and ventilated, ready for surgery. And we were waiting on the surgeon for a very long time. Minutes went by, and everybody was looking for him. And he came in a couple minutes later, and he was laughing. He was all scrubbed in. And he said, it took me extra long to scrub the fried chicken grease off my hands. And we proceeded to saw open somebody's sternum, crack open their ribs, and pull this atherosclerotic plaques out of these arteries, this open heart surgery. And it was just mind blowing, like such a almost barbaric procedure happening. And I never want this done to me. And how can I prevent this? So I thought for sure I would learn in nursing school how to prevent these kind of diseases. I would get a nutrition course. And although I got a what you could call a nutrition course, it talked about things that we would never hear about here in a developed country, like scurvy, things that aren't happening anymore. So I didn't learn about a healthy diet through nursing school. So I graduated. I went into the ICU. I was dealing with so many diseases. And I just thought back, I wanted to learn more about nutrition. So I started looking into it myself. I watched Forks Over Knives. I read Diet for a New America, and it was like opening Pandora's box. I learned
Yeah.
about the health aspects of it, and from there, climate change. And then what got me and kept me is the animals. So now I do all this for the animals.
What was it that made you think that it was a nutrition issue when you were going through that open heart surgery? Because a lot of people don't make the connection at first.
Yeah, yeah. Just seeing, I'd have to say, coming from like a healthy background, although we ate chicken breast, it wasn't fried chicken. So just, in the bottom of a pizza box, you see like greasy, see-through. So I kind of like
Yeah.
correlated that with, I don't know, people being overweight, or, you go down south where I was going to nursing school, and there is 1 in 3 people have diabetes, if not more nowadays. I mean, it's out of control. And so just up north in Colorado where I was, where it's more people are active and they're eating healthier. I don't know. I was just thinking more fruits and veggies, and not the veggies that are fried in all the butter and the lard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It
There's
just kind
still
of,
veggies, they're just deep fried, you know?
yeah, taking away all the nutritious value. So I mean, I learned from a young age. We'd have like a Easter basket, and I would have one piece of chocolate, but I'd have bananas and carrots and all this kind of stuff. So I was just kind of brought up that you need to eat healthy. And then going down to the South, it kind of opened my eyes that I didn't know people actually ate like that and didn't know any better. There was a patient that I had once that didn't know what a mango was, and that was
Oh,
very
wow.
surprising to me. Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, you had a
Mhm.
cool Easter basket. I didn't get bananas in mine. All I got was chocolate the whole way
Well,
through.
when you're a little kid, that's not that cool, but I
Yeah,
appreciate it
yeah,
now. I
yeah.
appreciate all the things my parents were trying to teach me.
I was gonna say your parents did a good job.
Yes, they did, and they're very healthy. Today, I live in Colorado right now, and they're belaying off of a 100-foot mountain at the age of 70 and 80 to make sure that we don't
Wow.
have snowfall coming off, yeah, the mountain. They're very active people. It's crazy. It's fun.
Yeah, I'll have to visit Colorado one day. I've never
You're
been
welcome
yet.
to come. You're welcome to come. You got to. It's gorgeous up here.
Yeah, there's so many cool people up there that I can come and say hi to. So once I do, I'll definitely reach out.
Yes,
I'll just
perfect.
wait for the snow to pass because I moved from Canada to California to skip winter, so I'll come when it's warmer outside.
Okay, fair enough. You can have that. But we have some good snowboarding, some good skiing.
I did a double black diamond as my first mountain. My friends says you're athletic, you'll be fine. I wasn't that great on a double black diamond for my first mountain. I was like, yeah, I'll just take a pause on ski for now, and we'll go play basketball instead. We'll go do something
Oh,
else.
that's your only experience? We'll get you down here. No, we'll get you on a nicer one. It's gorgeous. You'll love
Yeah, okay, perfect. I'm open to
it.
that. So when you transitioned, you were nursing. Were you an athlete back then, or were you just kind of exercising for the fun of it? Were you exercising to compete?
Nothing at all. I actually didn't even start really weightlifting until about 6 months out from my first bodybuilding competition. So,
Okay.
yeah, my husband at the time, my ex-husband now, we were military. And so he would just go out and have to run these PT Saturdays for everyone. And he would always joke that my wife can do more pull-ups than you, my wife can do more push-ups than you, and I could. And so I think I've just been athletic in general. I mean, it's climbing this mountain that's making me be
Yeah.
so athletic. But no, I started the bodybuilding thing because I had some friends that were always giving me a hard time, and wondering, how are you going to build muscle on a vegan diet? There's no way you can. And so you tell me I can't do something, that's when I'm going to do it. So I thought to myself, what's the number one sport that can prove you can build muscle on a plant-based diet? And that's the one that popped to mind, bodybuilding. So 6 months, I hired a coach, stepped on stage for my first bodybuilding competition, and it was a big one. He had a lot of faith in me and said, we're going to put you in front of NPC's head judge. So it was a massive stage. Sydney Gillen is an 8-time Olympian, and it was her show. So I flew to Atlanta, the Sydney Gillen Peach Classic, and I signed up in 3 classes: the true novice, because I'd never stepped on stage before, novice,
Yeah.
and then open. And I got first place in true novice, I got first place in novice, and first place in the open, and I ended up winning the whole entire overall show for bikini.
On your first competition with six
On
months
my
of
first
training.
competition. Yeah, I got this little crown here. That was
Nice.
crazy. So my coach said, let's turn you pro next show. So the next month was Universe, and this is a massive one. I flew out to New Jersey, and there are between 400 and 500 bikini competitors. So top 2 places get their pro card. So I stepped on stage 1 month later from that and got 3rd place. So I'm
Okay.
still very proud about that, but I was 1 away from my pro
Of
card.
course.
Yeah. So the show after that was Nationals. Stepped on stage there, got 1st, and for the whole entire overall, got 2nd. So that's where I got my pro card, and stepped away from bodybuilding after that because those same guys that gave me a hard time for where are you going to get your protein said to me, you might look strong, but are you strong? So I'm like, what do you mean by this now? And they were strongman competitors, these huge 6'3", 350-pound guys in my gym were giving me a hard time for I might look strong, but I'm not. So they said, sign up for a strongman competition. I have no idea what this is, but I
Yeah.
said, I will. And I signed up for my first one. It was a month later. I still had like my tiny little bikini body. I think I could barely lift a little bit of weight, but I won first there. So I said, so now I'm proving I'm strong. And they were still laughing at me. They said, whatever, you're not that strong. They shook hands with me on a bet. They said that they would step on stage on bodybuilding competition stage if I would go to nationals in strongman. And they didn't think I could go to nationals in strongman. So I made that bet. And that same exact year I went to nationals and I got 3rd place. It was
Yeah.
nuts. Yeah, yeah. So then I
How long
just
ago was
fell in
that?
love with it last year.
Okay, last year.
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay. But
So
you won recently, right?
yeah, so when I stepped off stage from bodybuilding, I'm kind of a tomboy. I'm not that girly girl. So heels was a whole new thing to me, those sparkly little, I had the extensions, I had the false eyelashes. You got to get like glammed up when you're in all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
bright lights. Yeah, the tanning. It's women are kind of like bridezillas backstage. It's just not for me. So that next month when I was doing the strongman competitions, we have what we call a bunker, and it's just like old Atlas stones, like falling apart dumbbells, like massive logs, like it's just like rough and tough old school equipment. And
Yeah.
I was out there after a hard workout, like bruised and bloody and sweating, and I was laying on that turf and I was like, this is my sport. This is my sport. So that strongman had me hooked from the get-go, and getting 3rd at nationals in the first year is unheard of. So I continued on, did a couple more shows just this last year, which qualified me for nationals. And that's where I got first place and my pro card. So now I am, and I think we're going to have to run this through, but all my searches, I believe I'm the first ever vegan pro strongman and vegan pro bodybuilder. And in general, I think I might be the only female bodybuilder pro and strongman pro.
Yeah, that's incredible. That is a hard feat to accomplish because it's two different training styles to be able to
Totally
do
different.
that.
It's crazy, and I still have this, like, I don't feel like I belong. Like I'm walking into nationals for weigh-ins. So I'm lightweight. So I'm a pro lightweight strongman. And I'm walking into nationals and I'm the littlest of them all. We've got middleweight, we've got heavyweight, and then super heavyweight. And all these women are so strong, they're so incredible, they're so huge. And I stepped on the scale and the pro said, you have a stacked weight class. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, what? I'm just gonna try to not get last. And the
Yeah.
first day I finished first by half a point, and I was like, I got a chance. And so then the next day I won it all, and I'm still pinching myself. It's wild. It's crazy. And so I got an invite to the Arnold, and that's our next competition.
That's awesome. And when is the
Hmm.
Arnold? Next year?
Yes, so it's the end of February. I've got
End
about,
of February.
what is that, 3, 4 months? Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Okay, perfect.
Hmm.
All right, so let's dive into each of them. So let's talk like training style for bodybuilding and how your nutrition was structured, and
Hmm.
talk about the powerlifting. Uh, well, actually, strongman because it's very different than powerlifting.
Yeah, but
So
strongman is like CrossFit and powerlifting put together. It's very powerlifting-esque. Yeah.
yeah, so as a fun fact, I've done a bodybuilding competition and I've done powerlifting. I've
Hmm.
never done strong. I used to be 240 pounds. I'm skinny now. I'm a basketball player now, but I used
Hmm.
to be big. So I know a little bit about both worlds. So let's go into the bodybuilding. What did, again, 6 months leading up to a show? So we're talking, so I'm going to make an assumption that you had a good amount of lean muscle mass on your body because you pretty much had to like start cutting from that
Yeah,
time because you were doing bikini,
you just diet down. So that's the littlest of all the the federation I went on was NPC, but it's the littlest of all
which
the
is
categories.
huge.
Yeah, I chose to step on an NPC stage to get my IFBB Pro card because it's not tested, it's not like a natural
Yeah.
stage. And I'm natural and I wanted to show people you can do it natural and you can do it vegan. So I chose like a big stage to try to get the word out more. And these girls, they wouldn't believe me. They wouldn't believe that I was, able to eat carbs all the way up into stepping on stage, that I was backstage, like eating fruit. It's like
Yeah,
unheard of to
yeah.
like touch any carbs leading up into stage. But I mean, I'm telling you, I'm vegan. And so I have a faster, hotter metabolism. It was a lot easier to just get up there and look good.
Yeah, I bet you there was a ton of jealousy backstage because when I did my show, I wasn't vegan. So I was definitely like on the low carb, barely any water train. And I saw people eat rice cakes and I was like, oh my God, this plain rice cake looks delicious. So I can't even imagine eating fruits, what that must have felt like.
Yeah, yeah. People were hating
I'm
definitely. And
sure.
so you sit backstage for a while and there's like nothing that goes on, and in between the
Yeah.
beginning and the end of the call outs at the end of the day, then you finally find out who won. So I'm just back there with all my little vegan literature, like, no, you can be vegan too. It was so easy
you
for me.
you
So
brought pamphlets for the other competitors.
yeah, you better believe it. I mean, I'm telling you, the whole reason I did bodybuilding was to prove that you can as a vegan. So I went back there and I trained by myself. I didn't have anybody showing me like what to do. My coach was online, so I had no clue how hard it is for some of those people. So yeah,
Yeah.
to kind of like hear their stories and hear like what they went through or how many years they've been competing to try to get on those big stages, it was very humbling. I feel so honored that I was able to get up there and do what I did in that short period of time. Is really cool.
Yeah. So what did the training look like leading up for those 6 months to stepping on stage?
Yeah, so in bikini, you want that hourglass figure. So it's a lot of
Yeah.
glutes and shoulders. I'm not allowed to do any abs. You don't want a thick waist. I wasn't allowed to do back. I had a pretty developed back just in general from moving firewood and climbing around in Colorado. So they had me get extensions so I could cover up my back
Okay.
because they wanted like the glutes, the legs, the shoulders, and that's what you want in a little bikini competitor. So it was a lot of cardio and just dieting down. So you got to get low, 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 low body fat. And I only went 1 month in between my three competitions, so there's no room for a lot of improvement.
Yeah.
So, for instance, one of the judges, their critique on me was that I needed to build my glutes. Well, you go on an off season for a year and you build your glutes and you come back. So the only choice we had was diet down more, cut more to show that glute tie-in. So it was a
Yeah.
lot of cardio and yeah, a lot of just like playing with water, playing with the carbs,
Yeah.
and then tanning me up and getting me back on stage.
In terms of strength training, what did that look like per week?
Yeah, so it was about 3 days a week for the strength training. Of course, it was like 5 days a week of half-hour cardio every day. But
Yeah.
we would do like shoulders one day, like shoulders and arms, and then the other 2 days it was like quads and glutes. And nearly every single cardio day, it was some kind of glutes in between there. So, hip thrusters, you're on the stair mill for a half hour at a time. It's just yeah, getting those glutes primed and built as much as we can while we're trying to like cut down and build. It's a sneaky hard process to have, but that's what the coaches are for. they helped me out a lot.
Yeah, that Stairmaster. Oh, I spend so many hours on that, and I'd be looking at food channels too because your calories are low, right? You're just looking at food videos, like, oh, I'm gonna eat this once I'm done.
That's
Did you do the same?
exactly what I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they have like, all the TVs that are up above
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
And at first I was like, I gotta stay away from food, because you're wanting like all those sweet treats and the candy and stuff like that. But then I saw it was like some Martha Stewart like holiday show or something like that. And after that I was hooked. And so yeah, you're just up there like, yeah, when I get off stage, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat that. Yeah, it was exactly me.
yeah. I'm happy I wasn't the only one. Um, so I'd be curious to hear what a typical day looked like before you started your prep, and what a typical day looked like the week of the competition.
Yeah. So before I started the prep, it was hard and heavy weights. So as many deadlifts and squats as you can get in. So I was dying on the leg days. And then shoulders, it was just volume and volume and volume. Um, and then afterwards, like leading up to it, you don't want any of that inflammation. So you want to be as chill as you can getting up onto that stage. So it was just walks, long walks, not even runs. I wasn't even allowed anymore. So, you want all those little calories burnt. You want to get all the water off. And so it was just hours of walking. And when I got onto the plane afterwards, he would be like, go around the airport before you even call that Uber. I want you walking, however many steps a day that I had to do. But even as a nurse, I mean, I'm getting a ton of steps around a hospital. And then afterwards, I would still have to go out and walk 2 or 3 more miles afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of nutrition, what was like a full day like before, before you started the prep? Like, how did you eat before you started prepping?
Hmm.
And then what was a full day of eating like the week before the
Hmm.
competition? Just for people to
So
hear the difference.
yeah, yeah. So before prep, um, it's kind of anything. You can eat whatever you want because as vegans, like although there are unhealthy vegan things, for the majority what we're eating is pretty dang unhealthy. So in the morning I would get up and have like protein oats.
Yeah.
Creatures of Habit is one of my favorite oats. They're plant-based and they've got probiotics and vitamin D. So you just get in some oats and maybe some fruit on top of it. You can put some nuts on top as well. And then I would probably have like two lunches. I really like a huge salad, and not just like iceberg lettuce. I'm talking like spinach, and I put like some plant-based cheese on top of that. You got to have like a ton of nuts, all kinds of fruits like blueberries and some good vinaigrette. I always do like some kind of dairy and chicken or something on top of that. And then my second lunch would be some kind of, I really like potatoes. You can do a potato,
Yeah.
a loaded potato, a billion different ways. Put some chili on top of it, or like a good lentil stew. And then I'm going and I'm training. So all those carbs are like leading up to help me through my training. And then afterwards, you come home and I would have, like a Dr. Prager's burger or something with like a lot of protein. They've got some really good, their all American burgers have like 25 grams of protein. And
Yeah.
so I'd load that on, but it would be like a bun and all the fixings, like some baked beans and something like that. But then you get towards the competition and you're not allowed all that kind of stuff. So I'd still have my protein oats in the morning. You can always have a salad, but then maybe instead of putting on like all the croutons, or you'd kind of take that off, a little less of the fruits. And then no more baked potato. I started having those rice cakes with the peanut butter, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then I could have like a pretty good like dinner at the end. So it'd be like that burger if I wanted, but just no more bun on top. And then we just slowly, you cut down carbs quite a bit, but I didn't find my meals to be like lacking. You get so much fiber on a vegan diet that I'm pretty
Yeah.
satiated. And so, you put a little bit of avocado in there and you're feeling great. I was never like that angry, hungry that a lot of people end up getting. Maybe the last couple of weeks right before you step on stage, but it wasn't that bad.
It's normal.
Yeah. Yeah. You
It's
got to go
normal to
through
be
a little bit.
some type of anger at that point, and impatience.
Yes. Yes.
Um, no, that's so interesting. Like I honestly don't have it in me to do a bodybuilding competition anymore. But when I did it, it was well over a decade ago. I've been vegan for a decade now, so way before then, it was a chicken, rice, and broccoli diet, very low in fiber, right? And it was like hot
Mhm.
sauce and mustard and rice cakes,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much it. I do it's like tuna with stevia just to have some sweetness. Like you do weird shit before a competition, and I wish I did it. I wish I was vegan at that time because it would have been better for my health. But
Mhm.
yeah, the satiety from it, you get a lot more flavor. Um, So what did that represent for you, like lowering your carbs before a competition?
Um, like how was it?
Yeah, because
Like how
as an
did it?
example, I'll give the contrast. I had zero. All I was eating was like meat and vegetables and mustard,
Oh,
like
mhm.
not even a rice cake, a potato. I couldn't even look at bread. So what was that like for you as a vegan prepping for the show?
Yeah. So I started leaning more towards for me, the processed meats were really easy to get really high protein in. So, that dairy chicken, the burgers, I couldn't necessarily do the impossible. They're kind of higher in fat. But lowering the carbs and lowering the fat, you just go through some of those, um, like some of the lentils and the beans, are enough
Yeah,
carbs that it would kind of take up my whole entire day.
yeah,
So, being able to do like some of those processed meats were a little bit easier to get it in, and then still be able to have like some carbs for my oatmeal for breakfast in the morning was a lot easier. But yeah, I did a couple of weird things. There's one you're gonna want to try. Don't knock it until you try this. It is tempeh. Just raw. You can take it out of the
yeah.
package and get a little slice of it and put it with a date. So I know this sounds wild, but it kind of tastes like a donut. And you
You
got to get your
wait.
tempeh to date ratio right, but it is
Yeah.
delicious. It's sweet.
So I know it sounds weird to people, but I also know what kind of mindset you're in once you're that low in calories. You become a master chef. You become so creative with the most random ingredients that you're like, yeah, it tastes like a donut. But yeah, I get it. I get the mindset that you're in at that point. That's interesting. Do you cook the tempeh?
No, no, just like raw out of the package. Hmm.
How thick of a slice? I'm just trying to think of like, because you still get the bean texture, right? The soybean texture on it.
Yeah, yeah, maybe like a half an inch. So you'll taste it. Like if you have that date and a tempeh and it's like too tempeh for you, then put another date, like sandwich it.
Yeah,
Back in the day when I wasn't allowed that many carbs, it'd be like a half of a date with like a quarter inch of a tempeh. And that's like your sweetness for the day. But I'm telling you, that's like I would take for Snickers bars because you're not allowed any candy, right? I would
yeah,
take a date and put a little bit of peanut butter and then an almond on top of that. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, it was so good. It was so good. You got to try that
Oh
if you
yeah.
haven't.
Yeah, it makes me laugh because I do remember those days. Holy shit. I was a master chef. Like Gordon Ramsay had nothing on me at that time. Like you're so creative. Genuinely,
Yeah,
I'm gonna try that. I have some tempeh and some dates at the house. I'm gonna
you
try
have
that and
to.
let you know what it tastes like. Um,
Yep.
that's
I love
interesting.
that. You're like,
Okay,
how many macros do I get? And like, what do I have in the fridge? And let's make something nice out of it.
because that was gonna be my next question. So from what I'm understanding, you had macros. You didn't have like a specific meal plan of like eat these set foods. You had a lot of freedom with kind of how you used up your calories and kind of how you distributed them.
Yeah, I would have appreciated like a set meal plan, but every coach that I tried to get didn't know what to feed me as a vegan. Like they're
Yeah,
all so used to the chicken and the rice, the tilapia, and nobody knew how I was gonna eat. So they were just like, here's your macros, and I just put them in, like my fitness tracker or whatever it was, and yeah, I made up my own little recipes. But they were blown away by it. And now my coach who was coaching me on that first bodybuilding competition stage, he's now like pushing some of the recipes that I used because he's like, wow, these were awesome macros and you stayed healthy. Like, TMI,
yeah.
but at the end of it all, I guess people have like a lot of problems with like bowel movements in the end because they're not getting any
Oh,
fiber.
big
They're just
time.
like, yeah, they're just putting in like chicken in their body. That's all they're allowed. And so people haven't pooped for like 5 days. And I'm like, what are you? I didn't even know that was a thing. I had no
Oh
idea. And
yeah.
so fiber, it's important. And so you get tons of it on a vegan diet and it's not a problem. So he's now starting to incorporate some of these recipes that I had. And he's like, wow, maybe vegan's the way to go. So it's cool
Yeah,
to
that's
show them that it
awesome.
is. Hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. 100% you get constipated because I remember having to take X-Lax before the like a day before the show because I just was so bloated and it doesn't look good obviously on camera and it affects your leanness for the show.
Hmm.
So my
Hmm.
coach, he mixed in X-Lax in Nutella and then put it on a rice cake for me. And that's how yeah. Hey, if you're gonna do a show, do it vegan for sure. Because there's so many things that go wrong.
That
Um,
sounds so extreme, but yet people are looking at me like veganism is extreme, and I'm like, I'm just over here eating plants, and you're putting X-Lax on a rice
on
cake. That's
on
wild.
Nutella and rice cake, it was nasty. It did not taste good. So One last question about the nutrition for bodybuilding before we go into the powerlifting, because you're bringing back so many fun memories for me. What is what is the weirdest thing you concocted in terms of food or that you've
Mm.
done when you're that low in calories before a show? And I'll just throw mine out there. I used to wake up in the middle of the night to just go open the jar of Nutella and smell it and just be like, I can taste it. I don't have to eat it. I can taste it. I do weird stuff when you're low in calories. So I'm curious, like, what's the thing that you're like, damn, I can't believe I did that.
No, 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 no. Okay, so oh man, I've never told anybody this. So I would take a cucumber because it's like hardly any carbs, okay?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I would put it in different concoctions of marination to
yeah,
try to get like the flavor. So I wanted so bad, like I'm like a junk food vegan. So I like my hot dogs and my pizza and all that. So I would put like amino acids and just like soak or like smoke liquid
yeah,
smoke,
yeah. That's what I
and
was
just
thinking
like
of.
yeah, marinate all the cucumbers in it, and then the next day, like, yeah, yeah, this is like I'm eating a hot dog. It was so crazy because I love my vegan hot dogs, but it's just like a cucumber. I'm telling you, it's not that bad when you're that hungry.
Yeah, it's like tsunamono basically,
Yeah, yeah,
but you just have different flavors.
yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
didn't ever smell a Nutella container though. That's
Uh,
different. Maybe if you would have given me the idea, I would have tried it, but I don't. I didn't really have like a big sweet craving. I think I just wanted, like all of my vegan
salty.
sinful foods. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I was definitely a sweet guy. I would eat pounds of Jello every day.
Oh,
Again, I
yeah,
wasn't
because
slow in
yeah, you're allowed
calories.
that. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Again, not healthy. Just for the people out there, like so. Just as a disclaimer for the people,
Hmm.
that level of leanness that you have, can you stay like that all year round and still be healthy and feel good?
No, when I I felt like crap. When I stepped on stage for my last show, like I said, we didn't have an off season for me to build, so we just had to cut down and let
Yeah,
the muscle that I had already show through. So I didn't get an DEXA scanner. I wish I would have, but I had one of the electrical impedance devices, that you're just like holding on and see
yeah,
what your
yeah,
body fat is, and it showed that I was 5%. And I don't know if it were single digits like that really, but it was bad. I was a not healthy female. Nothing that
yeah.
you can sustain. But that's what it takes to get on stage and get your pro card. They are pretty they're pretty intense. Those
Yeah.
pros.
It's an interesting culture, bodybuilding.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I was happy to step out of it and eat anything and everything now I can in Strongman. So
So
nice.
let actually let me share a story with you, and I'm
Mhm,
curious as to potentially if that played a role in you transitioning to strongman. Obviously, you wanted to prove that it was doable on a vegan diet,
mhm,
but to me, when I did bodybuilding, I developed a very unhealthy relationship with food. Like I became so food obsessed that like I started binging. Like that's kind of what led me into
mhm,
binging is post bodybuilding show.
mhm,
And at one point, I justified to myself, like I always was an athlete, so I wanted to do something else. But I was like, what is something else I can do that I don't have to diet? I was like, man, I can just be fat and strong and be a power lifter. This is perfect. And so I sold to myself the idea that I was being an athlete because I was training for powerlifting, and I went on the whole diet. You ever heard of the whole diet before?
I have. Mhm.
Okay, like the whole cake, the whole pizza, the whole sandwich, the whole pint of ice cream.
Not good.
Yeah. So
Not
that's
good.
what I went on. And I went up to 240 pounds and got freaking strong, but my joints were
Hmm.
hurting because I'm 6'4". The
Hmm.
joints were hurting. So I'm curious, did that relationship with food happen for you? And did that play a role into the potentially liking powerlifting a bit more?
Yeah, I think it did. I definitely got, maybe I wasn't so food obsessed. I got a bit of body dysmorphia from it. So that's why I think I
Yeah.
also wanted to get out. Nothing against that sport. It's very cool and what they do is incredible. But I saw a lot of people really like upholding the standard of like how you should look and how and some like you said it's not
Yeah.
obtainable. People don't look like that year round. So yeah, getting away from that and going from I was 116 pounds when I stepped on stage at the my last competition and when I got my pro card, and now I compete in strongman at 140. So it's
Just
like
for
a whole
context, how
different
tall are you?
5'6".
Okay, guys, important. You're six
Yeah.
foot four. Okay.
Ah, yeah, yeah. So it's like a whole different body that I'm walking around in.
Hmm.
So trying to find that balance of like, okay, you're athletic and you're fast and you're, like you're doing better, but I'm not this like tiny little girl that I used to be, clothes don't fit the same. And so going through that is really, really difficult. And I've had a lot of people reach out who kind of got into like the pro bodybuilding and like are just stuck there of like I don't like the way I look anymore because I'll never look like that bikini perfect again. So it's really
Yeah.
important, I believe, to have like some other kind of goal, like sign up. I had another friend who signed up for a marathon afterwards, and so now her goal, and she felt good about herself when she was running long distances and her time was going down, so instead of like achieving a certain look like bodybuilding is, it's more fun in my opinion to just like go after those weights. How heavy can you lift something, or how fast can you be? So I think it was like a good transition to have another goal, but it's very different still to walk around in this kind of a body after being so lean on stage like that, and then being told, wow, that's how you should look, that's how pretty you are,
Yeah.
and winning crowns for it. And now here I'm a whole different body and winning um tridents and axes instead of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bikini little crowns and stuff. It's a whole different sport, but I like it a lot better. It's just a little bit. It took a bit of transition to get into.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people don't, I think a lot of people talk about that or consider that. Like it becomes your new point of reference. However lean you were on stage, it becomes your point of reference for what is considered lean now. Like,
Hmm.
if you were at the leanest at one point, you said you were 116 on stage.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so let's just say like your leanest before then was 130 pounds. In your brain, that's what lean is to you. But now you have a point of reference of 116, which, like you mentioned, you can't maintain that all year round unless you go on like some Manavar or Winstrol or whatever, right? Like that's the only way you
Hmm.
stay that lean. Um, so how like what I'm trying to figure out what's the process you have to go through your mind to be okay with having more body fat on? Because shit, it took me like 8 years to get over that, and it seems like for you, you've done it pretty rapidly. So like, what was
Yeah.
that mental process to be like, I have body fat and it's okay?
Yeah. Um, I think I have to say that I've been able to stay quite lean, being on that vegan diet. Like, don't get me wrong, I eat vegan mac and cheese and pizza, and I'll like slam a burger and those hot dogs. But I'm telling you, I don't think like I bounced so far over on the other end just because, in general, like what we eat is just so filling with all the fiber and
Yeah.
stuff. So although I'm taking in so many more calories, I am in the gym training 3 hours a day for the strongman training. So I think, like I said earlier, it's a little bit having a goal and like praising yourself for those little wins. So today I was able to lift 170 axle over my head. And that's really, really cool to me. Instead of like looking in the mirror at, what I look like in a bikini, instead I'm just like, oh, but I'm strong now. So it doesn't matter what I look like because now my body's able to perform in a whole different way. And then I think being around a community of strong people instead of, if I would have still stayed submerged in like the bodybuilding community where everybody's so macro driven and into like what their physique looks
Physique.
like because they have
Yeah.
to, yeah, they're stepping on stage now. Nobody cares what you look like. They're like, but how strong are you? So it's
Yeah.
like finding those friends that are over there that are also, excited about like the lifts and not so much what I look like. But it is important that I keep an eye on, like I'm doing well and I'm getting stronger. And so that's the goals that I want to have. My goal was never to look a certain way on stage. It was to like show that you can as a vegan. And then after I got past that, I think it was just strength, and it's a lot cooler because when you're on stage, I mean, you train and train and train, and then you stand up there half naked, sometimes
Yeah.
only to be told you're not good enough. Like
Yeah.
that messes with you so much. Whereas when you're on that competition stage in strongman, you're looking at the girl next to you and she's lifting 10 pounds more than you. So it's like, yeah, she won, or no, she didn't. So it's just like you against her and against however many other competitors there are, and you either lift it or you don't. So it's a lot more like head to head, especially in like the running events and the moving events, and it's a lot more fun than just standing up there and being like, am I pretty? Am I pretty? I hope I look good enough. It's
Yeah.
it's There's no like in the end of it, you just gotta pose your hardest and then you stand off and pray it was good enough. But in those strongman competitions, you give it all you got, and if you don't, you lose.
Yeah, it's like, can you pick up the
Hmm.
stone or not? That's it. If you can,
Hmm.
then you move forward, right?
Yeah.
Now it's true with bodybuilding. Like if you mess up the day before with your nutrition or the water or your tanning's off or you don't post properly with the lighting, it changes everything.
Hmm.
Um, but versus like, yeah, can you lift 170 pounds over your head? Yes, okay, then great. Then you've done the thing. And
Yeah.
no, so you've mentioned that you work out last 3 hours. I know why.
Hmm.
But for people listening that are like, wow, she trains for 3 hours a day, why does it take so long?
Yeah, so you can't just go in there and be doing all these PRs all the time. As much as I would love to every day have this personal record for log and axle, and you have to go in and do a lot of warm ups. So now you don't want to be injured, so you got to do a whole like half hour of mobility, getting your joints ready, getting the blood flowing. It's a lot of band work, a lot of like movements from the floor, whatever you have an injury in or whatever you're weakest in. I've had a shoulder problem for a little while, and so I was doing just Turkish get-ups and like tiny little movements with the skinniest little band for a half hour before you even start getting into the heavy weights. So then that's a half hour, and then the next like hour and a half you're doing accessories. So accessories are all the bodybuilding things that I used to do. They're the overhead presses or bench presses or bicep curls, and then we move on to all the compound lifts. So in strongman, it is never that easy to just go out and there's a dumbbell sitting up there for you that you just lift. It is a whole Husafel that has to be set up, or like a Conan's wheel that you've got to get out and load up. And so it's like another half hour of setting up your events and then training those events. So you're working up to like maybe 80% of your max, and that takes multiple sets, multiple reps to get up to that even. So it's not so easy as bodybuilding, or if you were going out and doing a deadlift, you would be doing a lot of like that accessory work to get the hamstrings and the glutes and the back warmed up. And then you
Yeah.
slowly start working up to that heavy set, and then you're up at that heavy set, and you're taking 2 3 minute breaks in between all of your reps and sets. I mean, so it's a whole different beast now, but it's a lot of training and a lot of eating. So my whole life looks totally different now, but I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah. It's a lot like the analogy of sharpening an axe before you cut down the tree. That's I think
Mm.
strongman is kind of that definition. There's a lot of prep to make sure that when you do the thing, it's efficient, it's safe, you don't get hurt. That will ensure that you continue to train after.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. I love though that strongman is really functional, and powerlifting as well. I have like my 70-year-old mom. You go into the gym and she's gonna have to lift groceries up. She's gonna have to put something over her head. So it's a lot of the same ideas, the same concepts of what your body is meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just do it at a way heavier level. So we're putting on, yeah, wrist straps, and you've got belts and all sorts of different equipment for it as well. But it's a lot more fun. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think the farmer's carry is the one that translates the most to just bringing all the groceries in one trip. I think that's the most lifestyle
Exactly.
applicable exercise.
All the groceries in one trip. My last nationals that I had a couple months ago, it was 200 pounds per hand, and you had to
Wow.
run down 50 feet, turn around a sandbag, and run back. Run, I say. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah,
waddle as fast as you can with like 400 pounds. So the idea is you're doing a deadlift off the floor with 400 pounds, and then you're having to walk with
yeah,
it. So you don't want to drop it. And it's just straight strength of like a grip strength. So there was a couple girls that dropped it, and they're having to do those 400-pound deadlifts to get up. So I was not the fastest. Some of those girls were hauling, but all I was thinking was, don't drop it, don't drop it. So you get down there and you're going around this sandbag, and these farmers are wide, they're really long, and so as you go
yeah,
around, they're just slamming into your quads, and you're just trying to like even back out to like stay in your lane, but they're just like that 400 pounds is pulling you to the side, and you're just trying to get to the finish line. It was wild. Those are a whole different ball game. I never thought that I would be doing like grip strength workouts, that I would need it,
yeah.
but farmers is a big one. We have a Hercules hold where you just have to like hold as
Uh,
long as you
on
can,
each
super heavy
side.
weight, straight across. Yeah. So many things translate into having a strong grip. So Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know what my grip strength was before, but I'm sure it's like quadrupled. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, well, absolutely. That's a lot of groceries you can carry in one trip. That's a, it,
That
it's a,
would
but
be.
again, you did 200 pounds in each hand at a weight of 140 pounds. So you had
Yeah.
like almost 1.5 times your weight in each hand, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy like that. Yep.
And is that
We're
like
doing
a fat grip or a standard grip?
a standard grip.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes they'll do fat grips to throw it off, but you can't go as heavy then. It's
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
much harder in that some of them even like spin a little bit in your hand, like they're not fixed. So
Yeah,
you're like
yeah.
trying to grab things and oh, it's impossible. But that's what's so fun. I mean, nothing against powerlifting. I'm sure it's fun, but you guys have three events that you
Yeah, yeah.
do. Squat, bench, and deadlift. We have
It's
like
not as
a
functional.
billion. Yeah, 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 because you don't really bench very often. So I don't remember the last time I've ever benched anything, but we're doing a lot of, like incline with
Yeah.
dumbbells and I'll do a barbell here and there. But yeah, we have everything from Atlas stones to logs to axles. And with those axles, you could do a million different, a deadlift with the axle. You could do an overhead press with an axle. We have 1,000 different events. So it kind of keeps you on your toes with training because you never know what you're going to have to do. And there's at least 5 events in every strongman competition. So you're training everything from your back to your buys to your tries to your legs to your it's wild. It's so much fun to have that kind of just huge array of who knows what they're going to throw at you.
Oh, so I didn't know that. So I thought it was, so it's like CrossFit. You show up and they're like, hey, here are the events. It's not like, hey, you're gonna do
Oh,
farmer's carry, you do the log.
no, you know it beforehand. At least you
Okay.
know it beforehand, so you can sign up for competitions that you like if you're a really good overhead presser, there might be a competition that has more overhead than moving events. So yeah, you
Okay.
can go along and you know what you're going to do, but I don't know. um, I'm not sure if there's like a rule as it has to come out however long before the competition. But for instance, like the Arnold is in what, 3 months, and we don't know the events. So we're just
Okay.
all out here training random crazy stuff, hoping that the events drop soon so that we can kind of hone in on what we're going to have to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. So
Mhm.
you have to overall you have to stay fit and be able to do each lift basically.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah. And I think the me being a lightweight, I enjoy it more because we're real fast. So it's kind of fun to watch. So although like the men, you'll get a super heavyweight man out there and he'll be deadlifting and the bar will just bend and the crowd goes
yeah.
wild, or he'll be like pulling a truck that's like
Yeah.
tons of crazy amounts of weight, and it's so fun to watch that too. But you put these lightweights in and you see us haul up and down. We're so fast, so it's kind of more fun to watch the speedy little lightweights because yeah, those big guys are statically strong, but put me under a 200-pound sandbag and I'm sprinting. It's a lot more
Yeah.
fun to watch than a big guy that can't go so fast. I like our little
Yeah.
lightweight category. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to watch the Arnold because back in the day when I watched that, it was like Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, when both of them were like still competing. Those like
Hmm.
obviously those are the big guys, very static, but damn, a lot of strength.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Some of those guys are fast too. Mitch Hooper is now strongest man on earth.
Canadian guy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's a beast. He's incredible. And he's fast. So he's
Yeah.
got it all. That's I don't know that I'll ever get to that caliber. Just a little one. But it's cool to see. He's a good guy.
Yeah. I watched some of his YouTube videos. He seems like a very nice, genuine guy and
Hmm.
just so strong.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those guys are out of control. And that's what I'm most nervous about on that Arnold stage. So it's a world stage. People are
Yeah.
flying in from everywhere. And I mean, my eyes are going to be on me because I won nationals. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get last. I don't want to get last. So here I am again with my, how did I get here? I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make it. And it's going to be scary, but you better believe I'm going to give her hell. I'm going to make them work for
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's exciting because, and also publicly you are vegan as well, right? And so I feel like you have a lot of vegans backing you up on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm part of a vegan strong team. And so they have all
Oh,
sorts
with
of,
Giacomo and Danny and all
yeah,
these
yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of us. And so they just flew us out. In fact, it was a couple weeks after nationals. We all went out and competed at Clash of the Tridents. And so I went up in a weight class to middleweights just to see how I'd do. And yeah, we all won it. First place prizes and brought them home. We won money with it too, and so that went to some animal sanctuaries. So that was really cool as well. But yeah, it's going to be a whole different scary monster out there at the Arnold. So I'm glad you'll be watching me, but it's going to be wild to run into the same people that I did bikini with. Like my bikini coach will be out there and all these bodybuilders that I know, and they're going to be like, "You're doing what now?"
Yeah.
So yeah, strongman. Usually you get your pro card and then you start going on pro shows and then, you go to Olympia or Arnold in that
Yeah.
arena. But instead I just did a 180 turn and went over into strongman, and here
The
I'm at the
opposite
Arnold
direction.
competing in that. Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see how it goes.
Where's your, is it in Ohio?
Yeah, it's always in Columbus, Ohio, that tiny little town.
Okay.
Not much out there, but it's cool to go out and see the expo.
Yeah. Question about nutrition.
Hmm.
So you mentioned you're kind of eating, I say whatever, but you're just eating a lot of food as you're doing
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Um, are you putting an emphasis on anything? Are you even concerned or worried about protein? Are you putting an emphasis on it? You're just kind of like, hey, I'm just going to eat and it's going to take care of itself.
Yeah, that's just what I do. My coach, he kind of wants me to like pay attention to a couple of the macros. I mean, as far as like get enough calories in. Um, but yeah, I just kind of eat what I want, and there's always going to be like the main thing that I'm eating is going to be like pretty protein heavy. So I do a lot of like the processed meats right now because it's just easy to get it in.
Yeah.
But there was actually my friend David Goldman. He just did a paper. He was the science advisor for the Game Changers. He just published a paper that said they looked at high level athletes and they had a couple different that paid attention to what they ate and some that didn't. They just ate until they were full and they were still
Yeah.
getting enough amount of protein to be able to like build the muscle and the stamina that they needed for their sports. So I kind of since then was like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And so I just need to keep eating enough, which doesn't exist when you're in strongman. Like there's never enough. You can eat and eat and eat and eat because you have to be doing these long training sessions and building a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've just been trying to get it in any way I can. And one of my training partners, he's on the vegan plant-based team too. Um, my best friend, he has this. I'm gonna tell you a crazy recipe right now. So he has this. It's like a stew he makes. Every type of a vegetable you can think of, the whole entire rainbow. Rainbow carrots and mushrooms and lentils and beans, everything, and he just puts it inside of. He'll stew it, and so it's like all soft, and then he'll just blend it every single day with a bunch of spinach. So I'm a ER nurse. I don't have a lot of time to like sit and eat, so we just
Yeah.
have it's. He calls it swamp water. And he's a professional mover by trade. So he's out there also, doesn't have a lot of time to like sit and eat something in between moving. So
Yeah.
we just have these big mason jars full of like green deliciousness and just trying to get it down. But I mean, that's what it takes. You have to have that many calories. And at this level of athleticism, you got to get in healthy foods. And it's the
Yeah.
way to do it. You chug it. And then I'm so busy in the ER, I got to keep going, but I got to get my nutrition in. So it's easy. Maybe not the most palatable for everybody, but I think it's delicious. It's like a stew, but you just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Well, especially coming from the side of eating tempeh and dates and calling it a donut, it's a good opposite side to be. No,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
giving
yeah,
you
yeah.
shit, but I'm actually gonna try. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Um, what is enough calories? Like what are you consuming right now, roughly?
So I haven't even tracked that, but if I had to guess, at least 3,000, I would have to say, probably.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, yeah, because it's like 5 meals a day. And it's always random things because I don't have to be like so tight on my macros that I'm eating. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like whatever's in season, or whatever I'm kind of craving, which is nice to be able to do. But yeah, it's 5 meals and it's a lot of food, a lot of calories. And then you do it a lot before you train, and then you get a good big meal in after you train, and then start it all over again the next day.
Yeah. Hey, it's the best life when it comes to food, to do strongman or powerlifting.
Yeah, eat and train and eat and train. It is fun.
Yeah. Um, I'd love to talk about the psychological component and the mindset component of everything that you're doing because, like, those are impressive accomplishments, and you seem like a very disciplined and committed person when you set a goal. Uh, where do you think that that stems from, and what are tools? Is there any like mind games that you play with yourself to get yourself to show up? Because I've been an athlete my whole life. I don't want to work out all the time, right? There's times where you're like, I'm sore. My glutes are so sore, but I got to go do squats today. So what are some of those mind games that you play with yourself, and where do you feel that that discipline comes from?
Yeah. So I actually don't like working out that much. If I'm being honest, I daily have to get myself in there. So some of the little tricks of the trade I would have, like if I had to wake up early and do cardio, I would have the clothes that I was going to wear like at the foot of my bed underneath the sheets so they were already warm so that you can't like wake up and be like it's cold outside, like just get dressed
Yeah.
under your sheets so you're already in your clothes and then you just get out there, or you have to head to the gym in the morning, just get up, have everything by the door, grab it, and go out there. So by the time you like wake up, you're already halfway to the gym and you don't have a choice. So
Yeah.
I don't like it by any means, but you just do it. And where does it come from? I think like when I'm at my lowest or I'm struggling through a workout or like a comp weight that I'm supposed to be lifting is feeling a lot heavier than it would, I always go back to other beings have it worse than me. Like I'm
Yeah.
sitting in an air conditioned room, or I have heating, I have food. I have it so good. So I, before competitions, will watch like Earthlings. I'll watch something that like pulls at my heartstrings and makes me think, like, look how hard they have it. I have it. I'm so lucky to be able to like walk into this gym, to walk even into this gym. I have my
Yeah.
legs. So to do these squats, I'm so lucky to be able to do these squats. I'm not, it always goes back to the animal side of it because I love them the most. I'm not caged in a crate. I haven't been forced to give birth to hundreds of piglets over my lifetime just to have a tiny little slot that I'm allowed to stand up and sit down in. I get to pick up those farmers and run with it. And so when it's really hard for me, for instance, at the Clash of the Tridents, there was a yoke weight. So this is something you put across the your back, and then you have to pick it and walk with it. This yoke weight I've never touched in my entire life, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it at that comp. Um, but I was in first, and I just had to get it over the finish line to stay in first. So to lift it and not drop it, I was just thinking every single step that I take is so much easier than all the steps that those animals have to take. Like they're going to their slaughter, they're going to be murdered, they're getting prodded with like electricity. And I get to lift this weight and on my own fruition get to take it to the finish line. So I have it so much easier. I'm choosing to do all this, and that's kind of what pushes me through it all. There are people with missing limbs. There are animals that are locked up. There's so much worse, and I have it so good. So I try to just let that fuel me through my workouts because I don't want to do it half the time, but I just go in there and I do it, and then I get all these naysayers. That helps me out a lot. So tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you I can do it. So I think it kind of helped me out. People not thinking you can build muscle on a plant-based diet, all those people that were giving me a hard time. And so I go out there with that mindset every morning, because it's a lot of training alone. So I'm just sitting there
Yeah.
and thinking, people don't think I could do this. People don't think that. And I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing a vegan community, where everybody thinks we're just skinny little weaklings that, you know, that's like a terrible stereotype that I don't think, but yeah, I've been told that. And so there's no way that you're vegan. There's no way. I mean, you have muscle, and so there's no way. And I just let that fuel me. So I'm out there alone. I'm just hitting the pavement, and it's cold, and I hurt, and I'm sitting here like people don't think I can. So let me show them that I can. And who knows where that
Yeah.
stems from? Probably some childhood trauma of somebody not believing in me somewhere down the road. But I like to go in there and just think of, I'm so lucky to be able to do this, and they don't get to. So that's what fuels me.
Yeah. I appreciate the self-awareness because deep down there's some element of that for every single one of us. Every single person that's driven has like an inner thing of like, show the world like, fuck you, I can do this, or like I'm gonna build this thing or be that person. Because one of the
Hmm.
questions I was debating on asking, and I was trying to frame it properly for it to not sound insensitive, but it was like, why do you care? Right? Like that deep why of like, what's the thing that drives you to do
Hmm.
Like, why do you care so much about saving the animals? Why do you care so much about proving them wrong? Like, I'm curious, like, what is that thing for you that like
Hmm.
that just fires you up, that gets you to wake up early in the morning in the middle of winter in Colorado to go do a training session?
That's a really good question that I don't think I've ever really delved down into. I would have to say, so I'm the youngest of a lot of children. I have my dad's been married a billion times, so I have a lot of step brothers and sisters, okay? So I think growing up, I was not like paid attention to, so I wasn't
Mm,
given like the good job. Like you're an only child and they like push you and get you to go do something. So I was always like too little to do something, or like I was too young to go hang out with them, or too small, or not strong enough, or not fast enough, so I couldn't hang out with them all the time. So I think when I see something, like I wasn't even given a chance. So had I been
yeah,
given the chance, I would have excelled. If anybody would have believed in me, I would have just gone with it. Um, I was in track for a little while. My freshman year, I was in track and I did pole vault and I got on the varsity team and I set a school record my first year. And then we moved schools again. I was always moving schools. So when we moved schools, I didn't have anybody to take me to the track practice. It was early in the morning. So I just dropped out and I never touched sports again. So I think if
mm,
someone would have like believed in me and pushed me towards it, I would have done really well. So then when I see like the underdog in anything, it kind of really pulls at my heartstrings because I think I've always been like the underdog in it all. So when I see beings that can't even help themselves, oh,
yeah.
it's they don't even have a voice. They can't even speak out. They can't say. I mean, they have screams and tears and blood just like the rest of it, but it's so the rest of us. But I think my heart really goes out to the underprivileged, the animals or the people that don't really get a chance, don't really have a voice. And so, if I can be strong for them, I think that's a huge motivating factor. I've now been able to prove I'm strong for myself. Let me use that to help somebody else, and in this case, it's for the animals.
That's beautiful. That's
Oh,
a
thank
beautiful
you.
self reflection, right? It's, I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I've had some pretty hard things happen to me in my life. And I still believe that everything happens for a reason. And you know, it built you into this person that, you're a nurse, you're helping a lot of people. How many animals you've saved through how you're representing this movement, how many people you're impacting through what you're sharing online, to people seeing you win, the competitors that are like, damn, she's eating freaking dates and mangoes before stepping on stage, or like, oh, she's lifting this weight and she's vegan. Like you're having a greater impact than what you think you're having, or that what you know that you're having. And hopefully through this conversation, more people will be like, damn, like if she can do it, I can do it too. All right. So now I appreciate you being honest and sharing that, because that's how you impact people.
Yeah, thanks for having me self-reflect. But I think that's how it works. I think if I was patted and raised in like some nice, if we had money when we were growing up or something, I think I had it easy. And but because I had all these trials and tribulations, and I had this I'll show you mindset, I'll get out of poverty and I won't be living like this, and I'll show people you can be strong and healthy, and yeah, you can even reverse disease. It's wild to think about, but you can. And with something as simple as what you eat, what you put in your body every day. But it's hard to do because there's no broccoli council, there's no like carrot lobbyists, so showing
It's not a
them,
big industry.
not at all. And the lobbyists, or the pharmaceutical company in general, I see it every day in the hospital. It's so much
Yeah.
easier to take a pill than to go out and get in the gym, lift some weights, or go on a walk and eat some healthy food. And it's something that you're kind of fighting against. It's harder than changing someone's religion, because 3 times a day people are putting something in their mouth, and here you're trying to change that around. It's so hard. So I'm finding the balance of trying to be sensitive to that issue, but yet at the same time, like, just want to scream at people. Like, they are so up in arms about the dogs in China that are getting eaten. Like, how can people treat dogs that way? But pigs, I had a little baby piglet in my basement who, in one night, learned how to use a litter box. Like, 6-week-old puppies, I don't even think know how to, be potty trained very well. So they're so smart, and regardless of what kind of intelligence they have, they're still living beings that care for one another and have families and are moms, and they hurt when you hurt them. They feel pain just the
Yeah.
same. And so, yeah, you want to be so angry and make people understand, but learning to walk that fine line, the balance of, how to get this knowledge across. And I think showing people how to do it is the best way, to live it and show that you can do it, and then people will learn by example, is my hope.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Leading by example is the best way, right? Everyone looks at a shining light and is attracted to it. It's different when someone flashes a flashlight in your eyes, and is like, "Hey, everything you're doing is wrong, and what you believed your whole life is wrong." People tend to not be as responsive. But if you're
Mhm.
shining bright over there in your thing that you've been put on this earth to do, people are attracted to greatness. They'll look at you and be like, what is she doing over there? How is she putting on this much muscle? How is she moving those weights? And the people that are going to be attracted to that will be attracted to that. And then it's so much easier to not only plant the seed but water the seed of veganism for them at that point.
Mhm. Yeah, that's my hope. I'm telling you, I'm not anything special. I don't like going to the gym like everybody else. I like junk food like everybody else. It's just I have a little bit of like a purpose behind show the animals, but anybody can do it. Anybody can get in the gym. Anybody can start lifting weights. Anybody, if your goal is to step on stage as a bodybuilder, anybody can get on that step mill and make it happen. I mean, you just have to do it. I mean, you don't even have to believe in yourself, because half the time I'm like, what am I doing? Stepping into nationals, like looking at these
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
girls, like imposter syndrome, like what am I doing here? You just have to do it, and then you start seeing these small wins, and you start believing more and more, and then before you know it, you're like, maybe you were 200 pounds and your goal was to get to 150, and there you are. You just got to make the steps happen, and before you know it, you'll be there. And this is where I find myself. I won nationals, and here I am. I'm going to the Arnold. It's wild.
Yeah. With every new level, imposter syndrome will be there every time, because you've already showed to yourself that you can be at this level. As you try to level up and get better, it'll show up again. One of my mentors always said, with new levels comes new devils. And
Oh, I like that.
it's true.
Hmm.
Every time you level up, something's going to show up. You're going to doubt yourself. But
Hmm.
just like you did, and a lot of people that are successful in their life, is you do it scared. You do it doubtful. You just show up. You go to the gym, even though you get a training session, it's not the best training session. You got the training session in. That's going to
Hmm.
compound over time.
It is. It's just stacking the days. It really is. I mean, you don't want to do it sometimes, and you just go in and you do maybe 50%. But that was some weights moved that you wouldn't have done otherwise. You'd have been sitting on a couch, and it all adds up.
Yeah. How do you handle setbacks? Because as you prep for a show, again, I'm gonna make an assumption here, but not everyone sticks to their calories and their macros all the time
Hmm.
perfectly for a whole prep
Hmm.
for a show. Sometimes you go off track. Sometimes you have shit training sessions. Sometimes you get injured. So how do you handle setbacks? What are little
Hmm.
strategies or systems you have for yourself?
I've had some setbacks. Somehow a piece of cake got in my mouth, and then I had to start all over. No, that was
I
in the
just gotta say,
beginning of
I love
bodybuilding.
those videos when people are in the kitchen and they hit the Oreo box and they fall on the ground and all the cookies fall into their mouth. Like, I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I've definitely done that. And then, yeah, you get punished for it. And the next day, because you're about to step on a body, I don't recommend punishing yourself. You just like start all over the next day. But in
Yeah.
the bodybuilding arena, you then get to do 2 hours of cardio instead of the 50 or the 30 minutes that you're originally going to do. But a huge setback I had, I injured my shoulder. So the first year I went into USS Nationals, I went in with a bum shoulder. So you can kind of see, like in my overhead presses, I'm like kind of crooked, but you power through it. But it like broke me. So after nationals, I got third, and the top three podium, you get invited to worlds. So I had that invite, but I couldn't do it because I couldn't even lift 5 pounds over my head. So
Mm.
here we had to start all the way over. My coach at the time, he's a chiropractor as well, and they wanted me to have surgery, and he's like, no, we'll rehab it. We'll rehab it. So you go back into the gym after being able to for multiple repetitions, lift 160 pounds over my head. I now have to start all over with like a tiny little band. I'm not even allowed dumbbells. And you're going in
Yeah.
there feeling like the weakest person in the world. It's so hard. Um, but that's just it. It's just one step at a time. So you got to believe I'm not going to be here forever. I'm not going to be sitting here lifting this 5 pound dumbbell forever. Slowly, I'll be able to get to 10 pounds, and then slowly I'll be to 15 pounds. So it's one tiny thing at a time. So you can't look at the end goal of being like, I used to be lifting this much overhead and now I'm only lifting this. It's your tiny, tiny little wins. And it's the same thing with eating. So you mess up for one meal, the next meal, make it perfect. And then the next day, make it perfect. And just like stacking those days, one turns into another, turns into another. And before you know it, now I had a 175 dumbbell that I was lifting over my head for nationals. So it's like slowly building back up into it. And I didn't have to have surgery. We just rehabbed it. But it was trusting the process. So he said, you're not going to do surgery. We're going to get you there. And we did. So you go in and you take that one step at a time, like being under that heavy yoke. I just have to make it to the finish line. You just have to get those 5 pounds down and then check that box, and then 10 pounds down and check that box. So just eat that whatever healthy meal you're going to have, and then the next healthy meal and the next one. And before you know it, it just becomes a habit, and you slowly start seeing those wins, and your little internal audience is cheering you on the whole way. And then you find yourself at greatness in the end of it all.
How do you deal with the boredom of trusting the process? So, can clarify. I You've competed a lot. I've competed a lot. There's a certain amount of, like, it takes 6 months to prep for a show. It takes you a year to prep for the Arnolds, whatever. Like, you're gonna have to do these workouts, and it becomes redundant after a while. To a certain extent, it becomes boring. It's like, I just gotta do the thing. I just gotta eat the food. I just
Mm-hmm.
gotta show up for this, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually you seek excitement. And I think that's what most people struggle with when they're trying to do a competition, they're trying to lose weight, they're trying to do anything in their life. They get bored with the repetitiveness of the action, and then they seek excitement in different ways, which could call distractions, which cause them to
Mm-hmm.
go off track and not be in the process anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get yourself to stay on the process and deal with that boredom, that impatience, or that distraction?
Mm-hmm. So I always look at it like I have a goal. So I have to go in and I have to train for the 1 millionth time bicep curls, but I'm bored of it, right? So I always try to make little things exciting. Bring a new training partner in. Go change gyms. Not even that you have to change your whole entire membership, but I would go for like a week and just find these new, 5 day passes, a free day pass, and I would just go train at random locations. So it'd take me longer because now I don't know where the dumbbells are or what machines they'll have or not, but it's something different because it becomes so redundant and so boring that you have to have something new. So with Strongman, it's always fun to have a group of people. So you've been
Yeah.
doing these events again and again and again, and are you even getting better? Um, that's difficult as well because I usually train with men and they're lifting crazy amounts of weight. And here I am, like, now take 4 of the plates off and let me do my set. It's so maddening. And so let's get a strongman Saturday group going. So every Saturday, like, have a group of people train with you. And so then they usually end up pushing you even farther. So those million dumbbell curls that you had to do, it becomes more fun because, well, they did 2 more than you. So let me do 2 more and see if I can't do it. Or they did it faster. So let me see if I can't do it faster. So usually it's like a setting that I put myself in that's different, or I surround myself with people with the same mindset that will kind of push me a little bit more. And food's the same thing. So here I learned that tempeh and date thing from my good friend Stephanie at Plantspiration. So I just went to like a little healthy cooking class. I know I have to have my macros, and these are the foods that I can eat, and how can I make it exciting? And I learned that little trick from her and incorporated it in. So you get people with the same mindset, and then you just hang around them for a little while. Or, like you make, this is so goofy, but I'm only allowed so much oatmeal and I can only have so many carbs on top of it. So I started playing around with different bowls that I could put that oatmeal in. So like I'd have a
Yeah.
bright colored bowl one day, or I'd have like a tiny little bowl and it would look like I was about to eat a ton of oatmeal. Or I could have so many carbs, which equates to however many fruits. So I made it like a math game of like, okay, I can have 12 blueberries because it's this many carbs, or I can have, I don't know, a fruit that's like higher in calories, like jackfruit
Uh,
maybe. I can only have
yeah,
so
like a
many ounces of
quarter of a
jackfruit.
banana.
Exactly. Yeah. That's high sugar. So you'd be able to be like, okay, what can I have and how can I equate that? So macros is kind of fun when you get competitive with like numbers. But the training sessions of it, you gotta invite people in, but staying in the same mindset. Not somebody that's gonna be like, this is too hard and let's go home early, but people
Yeah.
that you are on the same level with, and go train with them because it doesn't always have to be like a lonely morning run. You can go invite your neighbor or get somebody in the gym to go out with you afterwards. And so that's how I met the Strongman group of people and got into that fun arena of events. And yeah, it's so cool to learn what other people have because you get stuck in this little bubble of bodybuilding that I did at first. And then,
Yeah.
Strongman now and all these other people have all these other ideas. And so it's cool to always just keep reaching out. The internet is such a good way to be able to be like, what are some new recipes that I can have or that I can create, and then just get creative with it.
Yeah. And you get to connect with cool people. Like Chuck made an introduction for both of us to make this podcast. You get to connect with cool people
Yeah,
online.
he is a cool person. I'm glad for that. Thank you, Chuck.
Chuck's amazing. Um,
Mhm.
any pieces of advice that you can pass off to upcoming vegan athletes or people that would love to become vegan athletes from your journey so far? Maybe like the top three most important ones.
Yeah. So, advice. No matter how many naysayers you have, because people come at you when they find out you're vegan, and I
Yeah.
think it's a sad thing because I'm not necessarily talking to them about becoming vegan. I mean, like backstage, maybe okay, I'll hand out a pamphlet or two, but without me even asking it, I'll be in the gym wearing a vegan strong shirt or something, and someone will just come over, and you get a hard time. And it doesn't have to be that you have to change their mind right then and there. Just stick with what you're doing and be that example, because
Yeah.
everybody will come in and some people will come in and they want to argue with you more than like see you succeed. So that's all it's there for. So stick to it. Don't listen to everybody and even use it as your fuel because that's what I do. People will say I can't, and then I go out and I do it. Um, I would also say you can't think about the very end of it. Like we've talked about, it's just every single day. So today, how can I be the best? And then check that box. And tomorrow, how can I be even better? And check that box. Because if you think way down the line, I'm going to step on stage in a year, you're going to fall off the bandwagon because it's so far out. You got to have those small wins every single day.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think it's important to find your why. So when you're headed to the gym and you don't want to go, you always have that little reminder of why am I doing this? It's bigger than me. And it always is, whether it's for your health, you want to be healthy for your kids, or you want to be a leading example, or me, I'm doing it for the animals. It's always something bigger than yourself. So you're not going to want to do it all the time. And when you don't want to do it, that's important to remember back to your why. And you helped me kind of figure out a little bit of my why. Thank you for that today.
Hey, you're welcome. And ultimately, those are the days that actually matter, right? Like if you only showed up on the days where you wanted to, you'd be like the majority of the population because they just show up whenever they want to. The
Yeah.
difference between someone that are athletes that are fit, that succeed, that win, are the ones that show up when they don't want to. Those are the actual days that matter. It's easy to show up when it's sunny outside, it's beautiful, and you slept great. But when it's cold and rainy, you slept like shit and you feel sore, like those are the best workouts. Those are the ones that actually matter because no one else is going to do them, or a very small percentage
Mhm.
of the
Yeah.
population will.
Yeah, exactly. Try getting off a 12-hour shift, having to go into the gym. You don't want to do it, but you got to do it. It's the difference between
Yeah.
winning and losing in a competition.
Yeah. And I love what you said about the end goal, right? Like, don't stare at it because it's not going to feel like it's going to come closer. You're just staring at it the whole time. It's basically you set the direction and you put your head down and you take those one step at a time.
Hmm.
Because
Exactly.
without that, then you're just kind of walking wherever, right? But
Hmm.
at least you have a sense of direction.
Hmm.
I have some fun little quick questions for you before we wrap up the episode.
Okay.
What is your favorite cheat meal? I guess everything's a cheat meal now because you're doing strongman. But yeah, what's a favorite cheat meal?
Okay, so I love the Impossible Whopper at Burger King. I say no mayo, and I get home and I get some plant-based mayo and I just load it full of it. Sometimes I even put some cheese on top. So probably, yeah, a plant-based mayo burger.
Okay, all right. I thought you were gonna say dates and tempeh. I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
No, it's always easy to be able to have. So when you go somewhere on a competition, um, maybe TMI again, but come on, we're lifting ridiculous amounts of weight. I'm about to pull like 400 pounds off the ground. You're pushing very, very hard. You want to make sure everything in your digestion has been cleared the day before. So you never want to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to a
yeah.
new location and like try out the new, I don't know, vegan restaurant that you've never had before, and it's like greasier food than you've ever had, and your whole body's like rejecting it. Now you have to go like pick up a 250-pound sandbag and sprint with it and pray to God that everything works out right. So I'm trying to stick with the same. So there's always like a fast food restaurant that you need to be able to go to, and everybody has a Burger King, so you can always get that Impossible Burger
Yeah,
at the Burger King, and then know your digestion is going to be able to handle that for the next competition. So
yeah.
there's my little cheat trick.
Yeah, it's interesting because I used to do a lot of half Ironman. It's the same thing. You don't want to change your nutrition before race day because,
Mm.
hey, not a lot of bathrooms. Sometimes you have to run a while or bike a while before you get to one if you change your nutrition.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so I'm curious, who inspires you in the world of, the world of fitness or veganism or potentially outside of that world?
Mm. Who inspires me? So, probably on the bodybuilding end of it all. I always had a huge crush on Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, so getting closer to that, I hope I see him at the Arnold. But also
Just come
he,
to Gold's Gym in Venice. He's there. I've seen. He was like doing tricep push downs right beside me.
oh my gosh, I'll have to come. Okay, so you come to Colorado and I'll go out to see you just the same.
Perfect.
No,
It's a great gym.
he was at I went to the red carpet of the Game Changers and I was like, oh my gosh, he's just the coolest of them all. So maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then who do I look for? Oh, so I have people that are around me right now that are huge, huge inspirations for me. That you guys may not know, but you can look them up if you'd like. My coach, Andrew Haynes, is incredible. He's won the Arnold multiple times. He's about to compete this weekend at the official Strongman Games. And he's just incredible. He's the type, he just goes and goes and goes and goes. So it's really cool to train with him, and he just pushes and pushes and pushes. And it's cool to be able to go to him from a hey, I don't have it this week standpoint, and him be like, okay, let's refocus, let's get this back under control. He's there to push me when I don't want to get in an ice bath, but yet like catch me when I'm about to fall. When I win nationals and at dinner afterwards, I say, it must have been a fluke. I don't know how I won it. It had to have been. And he's like, shut up. You won it. You're the best. You're the best of the best in the nation. You did
Yeah.
it. So he's a huge inspiration. Thank you, Andrew. And then my training partner is incredible. Rick Carroll. He's at Four Dirty Paws on Instagram. He's one of the coolest guys. Just having someone that can see you in your down days and not let it affect the training. So he can be there for me and listen when I'm like having a hard time. It's important to have a friend like that that can see you at your worst, but yet believe that you're still the best. So he's like,
Yeah.
all right, now that we got that out of our system, we're going to go in and kick ass. And so they have like these high expectations of me that I cannot let them down. And I push and push and push and push because of them. And he's just a beast in general. I'll be thinking that I'm like doing an awesome workout, and then he'll go in and do it even better. So then I've got to do it even better than him. So the competitive style is fun, but I think you have to surround yourself with the people that are better than you, and then they make you
Yeah.
want to be better. And so that's the people that are my inspiration, the ones that are around me.
Beautiful. And what is, as a last question, what is a piece of advice you'd like to offer your younger self? Because There might be someone that was in your position might be listening to this episode now or a few years down the road. And again, I just love those lessons at the end of the podcast, because someone one day at one point, because this video is going to live on forever on the internet, will hear that and be like, damn, it just clicked in their head. That's going to change everything. So what would that piece of advice be for your younger self?
It's something I'm still trying to teach myself today. And it's to just believe in yourself. I always had this, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And if I would have just thought I was, I think I would have done so much more. I would have signed up for bodybuilding a lot longer. I would have, you know, I would have gotten into strongman or other sports so long ago. And it took somebody being like, you're not going to be able to do it, to like really push me. But I think that I would have just been able to have like confidence in myself, and anything from being on a podcast. Like I'm not that good at public speaking. I'm not that good at a
Hey, you did a
whole
great
lot of
job.
things.
This is a one take.
Ah! Well, I mean, I think that I've just put myself out there. You know, I'm really trying to believe in myself, and I think if I would have learned that a long time ago, so many more doors would have opened. And it's just taken myself. I'm I'm old. I'm 38 years old now, and it's taken me 38 years to be able to like.
You're young.
I'm almost masters now in strongman. But it takes me that long to be able to like just go do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You know, if you fail, you get back up and you do it again. And the weird thing about it all, I'm not failing. I'm actually doing quite well. And so it's just taken me that amount of time to like put my neck out there and try it out, and then see that even when I don't do well, it still turns out not that bad. The whole entire world's not laughing at you, you know? You just get back up and you do it again. So I'm trying to believe in myself more and more. And each day it comes with those small little wins that we keep talking about. I look in the mirror and I have these people talking back at me that are all in my head saying you're not good enough. And so I start those little wins of like, no, you did this and you've done that and you've done that. And so it's little things all at once that add up to be big, great things. And that's what makes you believe in yourself. But I wish when I was little, someone would have helped me believe in myself.
Yeah.
So you just got to do it yourself. There's not always going to be someone there. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah. I'll just kind of throw that in there because I feel like it needs to be said. No one that is criticizing you or making fun of you is doing what you're doing or as much as you're doing.
That's
They're
exactly
doing
it,
less.
isn't it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were doing what you're doing or more, they wouldn't criticize you because you have respect. Like if you do a strongman competition, other people respect you because they know you trained to be there. If you do a bodybuilding competition, everyone respects you because you did the work to be there. You guys have all put in the sweat equity for it.
Yeah.
So it's always someone that's doing less than you that will laugh or criticize. So shit, let them be out of shape and not be able to lift the way you're lifting.
Exactly. And I find it's always like a reflection on themselves, you know? If they're the ones that are
Absolutely.
hating on you for something, it's something inside of them that they're hurting. So it's
Yeah.
easier to have like compassion towards that and you don't take it so serious. But it does help me fuel through those hard workouts. Somebody thinks I can't and I'm gonna go do it. But all these competitions, everybody's so proud of what we've done just to be there. So no matter
Yeah.
how well you do on that day, you can have a crappy day and not do well at nationals. Maybe those people I beat would beat me in any other competition. In fact, I know some of them could. They are very, very good, and they'll show up at Arnold bringing their best. So I have to bring my own. But man, we're all just there supporting each other and cheering each other on because, like you said, we're all in it together. It's a hard world to be in. All these athletics, getting yourself out of bed, getting into the gym, and we're all doing it together. So it's cool to surround yourself with those kinds of people. So if that's what you want to do, get in it. Don't stop and think that you're not going to be good enough, that you're not going to know how to do any of the events. You know, just show up at a strongman gym and get in it. Everybody's there to help each other out, and the first step you take, they'll help you. They'll show you how to do it, and then before you know it, you're competing, and you only get better from there.
Yeah. Hey, no one starts off being able to hold 200 pounds in each hand and walking all this time with it, right? You train up to it.
Not even close. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Melissa, I appreciate you taking the time to record today. And also, I appreciate your honesty and being able to answer some of the questions that I ask. I try to be careful because I love to dive deep. the superficial stuff is fun, but I'm happy we dove deep together, because I feel like that's what the value is for people listening, right? It's like, you know, you're a superwoman, you're able to do all of these incredible things, but for people to understand it, like, there's you've put in the work to get to that place, you've done the internal work and the external work to be able to get to that place. And I think that's what's the most inspiring. It's like, yeah, you can lift all the weight, but like, shit, you worked your ass off to get there, and that's where the respect comes from. So I appreciate you for taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad. I hope this gets out to the people that think that they can't, and then it inspires them to do it.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, for everyone listening to the episode, if you enjoyed the episode you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment down below if you have questions for Melissa, ask them down below as well. I will also link all her social media in the description, so you guys can go and check her out, give her some support, cheer her on for the Arnolds at the end of February. And again, if you're listening on audio as well, all the links will be down below too, so you can go and show her some love and some support. All right. Thank you everyone for listening. Melissa, thank you. And we'll see everyone in the next episode.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.